Hello friends, welcome back. Today is Watercolor Wednesday. I'm going to try something new. So I've got this darling photo of a Highland calf. I mean, seriously. Is that not the sweetest thing ever? And actually, Ginger right now kind of looks like a Highland calf without the horns. I'm going to put pictures in here. So I've got just a very general outline sketch. I've got watercolor paints, a few brushes, and I think y'all know by now my paint of choice is Daniel Smith. And I'm going to take a few Wednesdays to work on this, and we'll see how it turns out. I really can't draw very well, so I trace things. So this is just a very light general outline. We've got this little guy in a field eating some grass, eating some hay. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is put a little clean water on the field background. A little clean water. I'm going to pull my little Mickey palette over here. And I think I'm first going to go in with little Daniel Smith undersea green, very, very watered down. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull this mixing palette over. Put some in here so I can really add water. Now I tend towards like extra bright colors and stuff, so often when I paint a picture, the colors are not what's in the photo because that's just not, the color palette I lean toward. So I'm going to do some green in the background here. Just very random, very splotchy. Get out of that. And then to base coat little man here, I'm going to use Buff Titanium, which is a nice kind of beigey color. And the Daniel Smith version does granulate a little bit, so I like to use it. It's actually really good. I have it in my watercolor palette for at the beach. It's really good sand because it granulates. So the base coat of my little guy here is going to be Buff Titanium. And we'll do a little sky. We'll do a little bit of cobalt. A little bit of cobalt up there. Now I'm working on the BE brand paper, which is heavily, heavily textured paper. And it's a 4x6 piece of paper here. Now we've got a little barn in the background. It's got kind of a orangish roof on it. So I'm going to go ahead and block that in. It's just tiny, way back, far back in the background. Nice thing about watercolor, when you get something where you don't want it, as long as it's still wet, pull it out. Now to start adding a little darker areas to our little guy here. I'm going to mix some burnt orange in with the buff titanium. I'm going to go into some of these darker areas and give them a little shadow. And I'm just going to kind of drop it in because it's still wet. And we're going to let that dry and then come in and add a little more detail. My first layer of paint is dry enough to move on. So I'm going to go in with this green that I mixed earlier. Add a little to the foreground. I think with a different brush though. Little under the cow, start adding some shadow. A little back here. I'm going to go in with my reddish color. Add a little more. Now I'm going to mix up some different green. We're going to add some of this brighter green in. Now keep in mind, I am not going for photorealism here, not in any way, shape, or form. It's not my goal. That's not what I like. That is not what's going on here. So if that's your goal, I can always point you in the direction of people who do paint that way. I'm going to go back in with some of this buff titanium into our little horns. Just little nosy nose. And just take what's left on my brush and add it in there. Okay, that's all we're doing with him till next week. I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.